You're listening to Business Stories with Ryan Arcaracci, where I speak to business professionals from all walks of life. Thanks for listening, and let's get to it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Business Stories podcast. If you're listening and you are somebody who is in a tough spot with your current job, your current career, maybe you're just getting up every day going, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of it. Or you've been unfortunately downsized. That is happening. It happens to all of us at some point in some way, sometimes. So I'm here to talk about what do we do to help you feel better? What do we do to help you navigate what to do now? If you're not happy where you're at, or you've been downsized and you're looking for a new direction, a new pathway, there are people out there to help you, believe it or not. And one of those people is my guest today, Scott Kaiser. He's a career transition coach. And Scott, I'm excited to talk to you about this because I'm sure there are some people out there that are in that mode where they're just not sure what to do. Maybe they're frustrated, they're worried, they're scared, they don't know what the future holds. So tell us a little bit about you, and thank you for coming on.
Hey Ryan, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here, and it's a little bit about myself. I had spent 27 years in corporate America, mostly in the wholesale food distribution side and business development, multiple states, multiple companies. Very successful at what I did, but I certainly wasn't fulfilled. And I really needed to kind of go back to really, why am I doing this? Am I making an impact on people? One of the things that I valued most in my corporate career was mentoring, coaching, training the new people, getting them unstuck. And so how can I leverage this as a business? Because there's so many people out there, like you mentioned, that are just stuck. They don't know which way to turn. They're working that W-2 job and don't know which way to turn. And that's kind of where I step in as kind of a career transition coach. What is your next pathway? Is that another corporate career? Is that entrepreneurship? Is it franchising? Whatever it may be. I kind of like to call it a journey of discovery to kind of find a point of clarity. And it's, about 85% of people right now are openly admitting that they're unhappy in their career. And it's time to kind of wake up, get a little uncomfortable, and explore other opportunities out there, do it in a safe space, and kind of have that neutral party to kind of bounce ideas off of and possibly get a little uncomfortable.
I want to ask you too, what's your approach with people? Because I think a lot of people who are in a corporate job, they're looking for fulfillment. Like you said, I was fulfilled. I wasn't fulfilled at my job, but I was fulfilled in coaching and mentoring people. So you kind of found that. But I think a lot of people are at a point where they don't know how to find that, or they don't know what it is. And I think we often, as we start our careers, we go in one direction, but it's not the direction we're necessarily fulfilled in, right? So how do you coach people to really dig deep inside themselves to find that thing that's really going to fulfill them and give them that feeling that they're happy where they are?
Great question. And really, it comes down to really defining and getting serious about not just their goals, but their dreams. We all have dreams, but dreams without goals are just dreams.
Yeah.
I I really believe we all have that question that we've been asked ourselves, or asked by other people. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I mean, it's a loaded question because, we can't overlook the fact that we need to be grateful that we just woke up this morning knowing it wasn't guaranteed. So to be able to ask the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, is kind of a loaded question, in my opinion. But the decisions that we make today will impact us in 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And we have to be very serious about what are the decisions we're going to make that align to our, income, lifestyle, wealth, and equity goals. And so it's about getting serious with a client about, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What do you envision? What kind of legacy are you looking to leave when your time comes to leave this planet? And I have certain tools, assessments, worksheets I do. But for me, to be honest with you, Ryan, it's really just about listening and getting people to a point where they're getting serious about some sort of career transition.
Right. Do you have any particular stories or cases where you've seen, this really take off and really help somebody? Maybe they were at a point where they just were not happy and you really had to figure out a way to get them out of that mode and into a place where they could be a lot happier.
Absolutely. Probably the one that resonates most with me is I connected with this young man, 27 years old, lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. His father was an entrepreneur, started a very successful coffee company in Salt Lake City, and my client left Arkansas to move to Salt Lake to help his dad run it with the intention of him possibly taking it over one day. He was kind of a technician, worked in a van, fixed coffee machines, made deliveries. In April of 2020, his dad passed away suddenly. Uh, Unfortunately, for him, his stepmother took over the company, and there was never a pathway at that point for my client to become part ownership. So we connected on LinkedIn. He was interested in helping get his resume up to speed, looking for a corporate job, getting out of this. And as we sat down, via, like we do right now via Zoom, defining really what his goals were. And it was really impactful when he told me, he said, Scott, one day I want to be able to afford to buy, 50 acres of land here in Utah. And I want to school bus underprivileged children on how to live off the land, how to camp, how to build a campfire, things like that. And at 27 years old, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, he didn't want a Lamborghini or a big house or travel. He wanted to help other people. And I said, listen, is a corporate job going to be able to get you to that goal you're setting? And he goes, I don't know. So as we worked together, I kind of defined, his experience, his skill set, what really, got him excited to do it. And we did some discovery. I learned a lot about him. And as we went into discovery, he was looking at some franchises and he really found a point of clarity. It took about a year. That's, when I work with my clients, it's their journey and I'll work with as long as I need to. But it took about a year
Mhm.
and he found a handyman business, a handyman connection.
Yep.
And really it fit all his boxes. It checked all the boxes and he ended up, we worked on his funding and he was able to fund it and he's off to the races. And what's fascinating is we still keep in touch. What's fascinating is that when I talked to him the other day, he's like, Scott, I've exceeded my goals in my business a lot further, a lot quicker than I have. And it's just one step closer to getting to be able to purchase that land in Utah. And if he decided that he was just going to go get another job, a W-2 job, whatever it may be, I don't know if those goals, those dreams that he had set were actually going to materialize faster than what it's doing right now. So
Yeah.
that was a real powerful, story, especially for somebody so young.
Right.
Um, because, a lot of my clients are in their 40s, 50s that are in career burnout. So this was a really powerful example.
When you talk about career burnout, I'm just curious, like what do you think is the driver for that? Is it just people feeling overworked? Is it just there's just demand, there's too much demand from them? Is there just stress? Like what do you feel is going on out there with people?
I think it really comes down to being unappreciated.
Yeah.
There's that old adage that, a lot of times we're going to work to bust our butts so somebody else could live their dreams. And I get it. I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to, I think the pandemic really opened up our eyes to people that didn't want to do that job anymore, but it's what they did for a paycheck. And the pandemic forced a lot of people out of work. And they opened up their eyes to, like, you know what? I can do something else and make money and be appreciated for what I do. So when it comes to career burnout, I think it's just being underappreciated, overlooked for promotions, and waking up one day that I've been doing this for 20 years and I haven't built any equity in anything. There's nothing that I can do.
Right.
And they're opening up their eyes that, for 50 years, when we come out of college, if college is the direction somebody goes, for 50 years, we're going to work for somebody else to maybe enjoy 11 of them. I mean,
Yeah.
how ridiculous. And that's not the best 11 years of our lives. How ridiculous is that?
Right.
And so I think people are just kind of getting to that point of underappreciated, Getting passed up for promotions, doing the grind. And I'm hearing a lot right now where people are being forced to go back to the office.
Yeah.
And if you don't go back to the office, you're not going to be eligible for pay raises, or in most cases, you're going to be laid off.
Right. I think a lot of it comes down to, and you probably hear this fear, right? People are worried, well, if I jump into this new path, what if it doesn't work? What if you know, what if I don't have the buy-in from my spouse or my partner?
Mm.
How do you handle and navigate those hurdles? Because I'm sure that they come up. And it's a lot of it's just personal fear. It's inside going, I've been so comfortable in this role for, like you said, 15, 20 years, and I've really, really nailed it down. And now you want me to just completely divert. And even though I want to do that, I'm also really fearful.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you navigate those kind of emotions with?
Fear is what I call, the F word. What really is interesting about fear is when somebody's going through some fear, the question I like to ask is this something that you're feeling or something that you know?
Yeah,
And almost all the time, it's something that they feel.
yeah,
80% of the things that we worry about never come to fruition. They just don't.
yeah,
Thinking about the future, all it does is it creates anxiety. Thinking about the past creates depression. So let's really focus in on if this fear you're having is something well, let's get the questions answered to overcome that. I work with a lot of spouses. I work with a lot of father, son, mother, daughter, just to kind of understand, what is the fear you're having. And really, I believe it's an acronym for false evidence appearing real.
yeah,
And that's what we got to understand, because people get really excited about business ownership, especially if they're going into a franchise path. And then once things get a little deeper, and this is something they're thinking about, is when the fear comes in. What if it doesn't work? What if I can't do this? Well, how about changing your mindset to say, what happens if this does work? What is going to happen for me?
yeah,
Fear, in my opinion, is this ocean that we look out of all the time, but it's only a half inch deep. It's
yeah.
just about stepping into it and getting to that edge of that metaphorical cliff. When it is the scariest to jump, that is when we have to jump, because if we don't, we are going to be standing on that cliff for the rest of our lives. And that's where the biggest pain in life comes in, and that's regret.
And I think it's interesting if you look at it as, do I want to take this jump, or do I want to stay where I'm at and feel unhappy and underappreciated for the next 10, 15, 20 years until I'm of retirement age? What's really worse, I think. And I think the worst thing is to stay where you're at and feel unhappy. And I think it's
It's ex-
interesting too, Scott, because we live in a world where there's so many, and I want to ask you about, like, what there are so many opportunities. I don't think people realize how many opportunities are out there in business ownership and franchising, and new things are popping up all the time. What avenues or what industries are you seeing the most success or the most potential with the current situation?
Yeah, great question. Great question. When we talk about franchising, our initial thing is, your McDonald's, your Chick-fil-A, your Subways,
Yeah.
Jimmy John's, the big, big monsters. What I'm seeing right now are what I like to refer to as kind of the boring businesses. The home service brands are massive right now. There is not a single business out there that can't provide some value to a homeowner. The pet industry continues to grow. The senior care space continues to grow. Uh, and people sometimes want to get into leadership programs, expense reduction businesses, but really what it comes down to when I'm working with a client, and I hear it daily, is really something that they're passionate about. I want to challenge clients at this point to be like, I'm not so I don't think that most people need to go into business ownership that they're passionate about, but something that eventually will give them the time and free up their time to actually chase the passions that really do matter in their life.
Yeah.
And that comes down to what I would say, a window washing business, a roofing business, a lawn care company, in home companion care for seniors, a mobile pet grooming business. These are services that people need all the time. There's
Yep.
no shortage of clients. But some people are like, well, I'm not really passionate about pets. Well, that perfect, perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. It's a great business. So those are a lot of the models that I look at the Entrepreneur Source. We really are very specific on who we work with, and really vet through. We're going to look at their growth plan. We're going to look at their financials. Is this something that we want to add to our portfolio? Because there are thousands out there.
Right.
So, at the Entrepreneur Source, we really work with about 220 and 34 different industries. But going back to what you said, it really is those boring businesses that are the ones that people are leaning towards right now.
So walk us through a little bit about your process, working with somebody, if they're in a phase right now, maybe they're listening to this and they're just like, look, I cannot take another day at this job. I don't want to wake up and go. I can't even get into the car if I have to get in the car. Um, someone who's in that mode where they might be really emotional, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to figure out, well, let's take this step by step. Let's make sure you make the right decision so that this is going to be successful for you. Kind of walk us through the phases of that and how that all works.
Perfect. Um, Usually, I'll set up an initial call. It's really just a safe space to have an introduction. Tell me about your career journey. Where things are at. Are you downsized? Are you still working? Are you burned out? Whatever it may be. And then obviously, I can share a little bit more about what I do. And once we kind of come to a mutual understanding that this makes sense for both of us to kind of move forward, I will start off the call after that. I supply my clients with an assessment. A lot of clients have done these in the past. Call them personality assessments, whatever it may be. But I use the tool differently because it really kind of defines why a person does what they do, how they do the things they do. But more importantly, Ryan, it helps uncover some things that may be holding them back. And
Yep.
on that first call after the introduction, we kind of go through that, and I say, "Is this true about you? Is this false about you?" And really, it helps me create a framework of the client on how they like to approach things. Some people are high risk takers. Some people like to analyze everything, and that really helps me in a short amount of time that I spend with my clients in the beginning to kind of define what are their goals, needs, and expectations. At the end of that call, I openly ask the client, hey, if this makes sense to move forward, if you found some value in it, we're going to move forward and we're going to do something called a 2.0. A lot of these people are living in their 1.0 lives. What is the 2.0? Let's talk about your dangers. Let's talk about your opportunities and your strengths and really just kind of define a little bit more. But I'm very clear to all my clients that it is 100% their journey. It is not mine. I'm just kind of here to walk side by side with them to uncover opportunities that they probably drive by every day and don't know that this could be some business I could own one day if that is their pathway.
Right. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing you said was, and I think people think that they want to get into business for the money. I want to make a
Mm-hmm.
lot of money and I don't know, I just want to have all this money and I want to be able to buy stuff and take my family on trips. But at the end of the day, I don't think any of that matters unless you're truly fulfilled and passionate about
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing. Because to me, once you're fulfilled and you're passionate, the money comes after that. But if you're only focused on money, you're missing out on the fulfillment side. Um, and I think that's important. So this has been a really good conversation, Scott, and I think it's been great having you on. I think a lot of people are going to have questions too for you. So, um, any parting words before we kind of move on from here in terms of just maybe your own personal experience, what you've learned kind of moving from the corporate world into this yourself? What have you learned about yourself? What can you share with the audience about that? And also, how can people reach you and learn more from you? So if they need to
Awesome.
contact you.
What this has done for me, leaving corporate America into entrepreneurship myself, is you had said it best previous to the question you asked about money. We all try to chase that elusive thing called money, and it always seems to be outside of our grasp.
Right.
And for me, it's really about adding value. What is your purpose here? If you can add value to anything and anybody you do, wealth will follow. And wealth does not need to be defined as money. It could be faith, it could be family, it could be fitness, it could be, yeah, and yes, it can be money. But as you can add value to other people, wealth will generally follow.
Right.
And for me, it was about getting into this and just being that what I like to say, my client's ally.
Yeah.
An ally is somebody who wants the best for you, but we'll call you out at times when things are going sideways and have some uncomfortable conversations. A lot of time our friends will justify our excuses, and that's kind of keeps us in that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Nothing can grow from being comfortable, ever. It's impossible. So what it's done for me is it's really helped me get an understanding of why people are stuck in this hamster wheel of corporate America, and how to get them unstuck. And what it's done personally for me is it brings me fulfillment. When I get a referral from a past client, or I get a card in the mail saying thank you, that's the wealth for me. Right. And it's just been it's been a fascinating journey. It's something that I wake up every morning to get excited about. And yes, it does free up my time to chase the passions that really do matter for me. And if people want to get some more information, the best way for me is on, just go to my website, S and then my last name, Keyser, KEYSER esourcecoach.com. You can also look me up on LinkedIn by just typing in my name, Scott Keyser, and send me a message there. And I'd love to connect with people and just have a very safe, open conversation with a neutral party.
And I think it's powerful. What we talked about earlier is we all have limited time on this planet, and and you get old pretty fast. I've kind of seen that myself. 1 minute you're 25 and you're like, hey, I got the world in front of me, and next minute you're like approaching 45 and you're going, where'd that time go? So I think we got to put that in perspective and understand that life can be short. And it's not worth being miserable, doing something you can't stand for 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day. There's plenty of opportunity, and there's probably plenty of more potential in you if you go in and tap in and find it. And that's why I think TES and what you guys are doing are so powerful, because it really is coaching. It's not pushing people, it's coaching them, it's guiding them, helping them understand themselves and where they can fit best to be happy and fulfilled in what they do. So that's powerful stuff. So yeah, thank you, Scott. It's been a great conversation. And if you are looking to get some help from Scott, please reach out to him, go to his website, email him, connect with him on LinkedIn. He's definitely a wealth of knowledge and will really help you. Thank you, Scott. Let's keep in touch, okay?
All right. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in becoming an episode sponsor, please email me at livingryan@gmail.com. And thank you so much.